What's up, guys? Except for you, Nora. Welcome, everybody, except for Nora.
Yo,
Look, don't trust Nora. Her ass got spies everywhere. Somehow she found me at contact and she had information. I mean, she literally has her own CI or something. I don't even freaking know. She was sending me all kinds of photos, me painting my toenails. I don't know how she got those damn things. So do me a favor, guys. Let's just retweet the space. Make sure you quote it. Like I said, I'm gonna probably pick tomorrow because I actually stayed over in Palm Springs. I kind of had a vacation without UFO people here. So do me a favor, retweet this page, and the best quoted one, I'm gonna go ahead and get a digital copy of. I'll pick it out, and you'll get a digital copy of Ryan Wood's Magic Eyes Only, which is a crash retrieval book, one of the many. Right. So do me a favor, retweet this. Astral, all these speakers you'll see up here, and hey guys, maybe I'm gonna actually invite somebody. I invited somebody. Hopefully they show up that is kind of in the know that most people don't even realize been in the know, right? They've been kind of doubting him for multiple reasons. We'll see if Doty comes in, right? Because I can tell you, I know he's been giving us stuff. He's been helping out, and most people don't even know it. Like, so I wanted to bring him in here and give it a chance to ask. Now that I've been doing this crash retrieval stuff, so I can talk. We can talk about this whole thing. And believe me when I say Doty was an SSO. Guess what, too? I don't know if I can talk about it yet. I found my SSO. No shit. I know who Gray is. I found my SSO and I know a little more information, but I'm waiting to see if I can put something out about it. Because again, I don't get paid for shit. Disclosure's where I'm going. Nothing else means anything to me, right? If it's going to fuck some shit up, I'm not about to do it. So I'm just sitting on some names right now, which is what we did with this story busting right now. We had almost all the information at RDR News. Not all of it, so it had been out of context, but we sat because again, we're Shane and Toby when to screw some shit up. So do me a favor, retweet this shit. We'll get everybody. If you want to come up, you can come up. We'll talk about the subject. The only time we may change the formats if Doty comes in, because I'd really like to have a conversation between Doty and myself about this, or anyone else that's really familiar with crash retrievals, right? So yeah, appreciate you guys being here. It's been a minute since I've been here, and Astral, you want to take over for a second? Can I smoke a doobie?
yo, what up? For sure. Um, I was watching the interview today with Blumenthal and Leslie Keene, and just wanted to say a couple things which were just funny and ironic, I think. And props one to Shane and John, Lucas, and Toby, because I think that they were catching shit for reporting on the leaks that supposedly people who are reporting on this that were doing. So people were slipping with their tongues. And props to Shane and John and Toby and some, probably a lot of other people in the community that were like kind of getting shit for posting it earlier. And it was interesting to hear today when actually Leslie Keene and Ralph Blumenthal, who wrote the article, and then Christy Newton was interviewing them, and she said, why did you guys rush it? And they were like, well, it was kind of the leaks. For example, it was your interview with Danny Sheehan that when he revealed the name of the whistleblower. And so we had to rush it. And I think it's also kind of interesting that the timing of this with Greer, um, like imagine if it didn't come out and they waited till after Greer, and then Greer had sort of had the first fucking say with this guy's name and the peer present it. And so like I don't know why they weren't planning on doing this before Greer's event, because Greer obviously already is like trying to turn around and do some stuff. But I just thought it was interesting the whole way the thing played out. But props to you guys, man, for really, kind of getting it out there, catching the shit, but still going with the story. And I'm interested in this space and what's going to be discussed, dude. Thanks for having me.
Right on. I'm almost finished. Don't stop yet.
Well, I saw a couple people jumped up here. Neanderthal, what's up, dude?
Dude, I just wanted to say, like, I saw that too. I'm so glad somebody else did. Like, that boggles my mind because, I mean, maybe I just watched it once real quick, but I don't think that she even knew that Danny Sheehan even dropped those on her own fucking interview, bro. Like, am I wrong?
that she put it all like connected the dots there. I don't know.
Look, man,
She had
none
to
of these
have, I
people.
feel like.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to humble fuck brag right now. No one did. I reached out to them to let them know, hey, you may want to do something about that. Well, what the fuck can we do about that? Matter of fact, I'm not going to tell you where or what. There's another slip up out there in the podcast sphere that gives out some big info. And I won't talk about it or bring it up again, but I know it's legit because what I did was I reached out and said, hey, you may want to fix that. They couldn't. But the only reason I did, because not every piece of information is a story if you're looking for disclosure. Now, if you're looking for a Green Street sensationalized article, then you can start taking shots. But that's not why we're here, okay? So tonight we're going to talk about crash retrievals. We can talk about the whistleblower today, David. So he was talking about, I guess you would say, documents and things like that. Now, somebody made a comment. They're like, because I made a comment, where are the good questions? I didn't say that lightly. I wasn't dogging these great journalists. I'm not a journalist. I spent the last year and a half only reading this shit, right? Crash retrieval stuff. You're going to get a better question. You're going to get a better answer out of somebody if you kind of let them talk. They give you too much information. And as they talk, you let the conversation flow. You should know enough about the subject. If they mention MJ12, you're able to postulate 12 questions you want to know. Or if they go off to a document about Roswell, you should have 12 that you're ready to go off with, right? Yeah, prepared questions are outstanding. You're going to get prepared answers. The more comfortable they feel, the more they feel you understand, the more they're going to tell you. So whoever it was that says back Ross over me in that, you're backing the wrong dog. As a journalist, yes. But crash retrievals, you got to understand as well. We found a crash retrieval guy. We got a whistleblower we're working with, whatever was read in at one time. If you have that, that means you got to have somebody to vet that, right? So I've been in the ballgame for a little bit, working on this shit back and forth. So again, the terminology, the people, the players, I'm not here for any other reason than the aliens dragged my ass. And I also don't get paid to do it. So my only goal is disclosure. You don't see me touting all these other things. So what's super important is sometimes if you commingle with this community and you think, oh, this guy's on a different side, right? That's kind of bullshit. I'm only here because of Jeff Knox, people like Swan, King Milk, for all these different people that have helped me with little things here and there. You wouldn't believe some of the things that I picked up from all these places. And all I can say is you're turning people out whenever you shut them off. That's half of the freaking, I guess you would say, the intelligence in here. The more brains, I've actually seen more people in these spaces talk about this subject and like they've been studying it for years. But you go to a convention, try talking to a speaker about this like we do. They're going to be like, what the fuck? They have their little things, right? So this is ours. This crash retrieval shit, this is our bread and butter. If you guys get a chance, go to my thread. There's loads of crash retrieval information books and things like that, and post them in here. Post your favorite things in this thread because people look at it, retweet it. The more active it is, the more people see it. The more people see it, the more people know David's a hero and they know what David did. They also need to know that he was already vetted when he got there. You don't need anything else to vet him besides an SSO because an SSO knows where all the bodies are buried, holds all the keys, gives out the tickets for the special access programs, right? So by just having that person attached, which I found, and I think I know who it is, right? He'll be coming out soon, I think. That individual alone is the vet. If he says yes, you're good to go. So he's basically saying, yeah, that individual did what he said he did. And that individual,
What's the
David,
SSO, bro? You said that a couple times.
oh, I'm sorry. Special security officer. That's what Doty did. So Doty eventually ended up doing that, but there's always going to be new ones, right?
Can
So these are the.
can
Go
you
ahead.
tell us what's important about an SSO and why that
Yeah,
pertains to?
what's important of it is like everyone else is going to be compartmentalized, right? Your task is this. You got to do this. For instance, David, he talks about the documents, things like this, not seeing certain things, right? There's a reason everything's compartmentalized. An SSO is the individual that has all that information. He's here with this. He's there with that. We're doing this here. You follow me there, and then you can go and look at my thread somewhere in there. It's talking about there's a job posting for Odie and I talking about these different things, right? So what we should ask ourselves is, how in the hell is it that we have an individual saying all these things that has been vetted, an SSO attached per Eric Davis, but Fitzpatrick still says he doesn't know shit. Congress still acting like that's silly. That's kind of embarrassing for our Congress, but ignorance is what it is. You can also see my shot out to Avi, and it wasn't anything personal, but to sit there and constantly try to steer this subject back into science when we clearly don't have the science for it is insanity. We need to start developing new tools, a new philosophy of science for this whole thing. So let me ask you guys this. What crashes have you heard of that you think are hoaxes? And who was it that mentioned, oh, wait, David mentioned this. Crash Retrieval, Italy. What do you guys got on that? I want to hear, raise some hands, come up here. Tell me what you guys know, and I'll tell you what I know. I guess no one. Astral. Chase.
I don't have anything on that specific case. I mean, I could talk to the arrow. And I think I'm actually more of a skeptical approach person. But I'm so open minded. I mean, me shit. But I think when people are going to talk about this and the initial skeptic side of this is the evidence and the testimony that it is given. And that, if Arrow has that information, like they would still need the evidence just like that we've just heard. And they would still, if they have the evidence and then they have access to the stuff or the more classified information and they have the ability to look at that and they're not taking action on that, I think that's where the problem is. But, I feel like they're limited and they're taking that approach also because they can still shield themselves off in a way from this. But it does look bad, dude. The optics of it doesn't look good.
I agree.
Let's talk Aztec, Shane.
Talk dude. Right? All you got to do, bro, speak of it.
Here we go.
People expert, you know that. Get that shit out.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and thank you too, Astral. Thank you for always being positive. That means a lot to me in this negative world. But on March the 25th, 1948, early morning hours, the state policeman saw something in distress in the sky, so he started following it. Now, he was a young state policeman. Aircraft were not the norm in New Mexico, especially in northern New Mexico. He was out of Cuba, New Mexico. And he followed it up what was known then as U.S. Highway 44. A while later, a rancher by the name of Valentin Archuleta saw something come across the San Juan River towards his ranch, and it ricocheted off a cliffside. Now, this young man was a World War II veteran, a Bataan March survivor. And airplanes were really not something that he was very much aware of either. The first one he ever saw was when they got rescued on the Philippines. And he thought what he saw was an airplane. And being the patriot that he was, he called Kirtland Airfield and reported to them that one of their fancy airplanes had just ricocheted off this sandstone cliff. Well, that wasn't the case. As the crow flies, where Hard Canyon is probably 8 miles from the cliff that this spacecraft ricocheted off of. Ironically, it's a 100-foot circular spacecraft, kind of like the one that I shared in the corner pocket a picture of. It crash landed safely, seemingly, on the top of a cliff. And there's some pieces from that craft. But there was a systematic set of rules that the military went by, including hushing up a community. And by that one phone call, it set the wheels in motion to where men were on their way to Aztec, to Heart Canyon. And ironically, there was a helicopter squadron not far across the state line in Colorado, and they were the first military people that observed this. And the people on the ground, the oil field guys that actually found this craft, saw this helicopter as it circled. It never landed. It reported back to its duty station. And the rest is history.
And just for the sake of time, brother, because I'm only doing an hour today because I'm still in Palm Springs. Can you tell us the type of craft, how many EBE bodies, and who showed up to take them?
100-foot circular, probably not more than 18-foot tall, so it's pretty small. 12 bodies recovered, all deceased. Men from Roswell, from other military places that were pretty close by, but the brunt of them were from Roswell, and a security force to cordon off this area. And some people say that, well, there's no way, there wasn't no road there. There was a road there. There was an oil field road there. There were drip tanks below this cliff side. There were the right roads to move this from where it was at to Los Alamos. And I believe that's what happened. Many other people believe that's what happened. Craft was seemingly pieced together. They push a button, it breaks apart. They were able to load it up on what they called back then dragon wagons, what we know now as a lowboy trailer. My dad worked in the oil field long before I did, and I asked him if they could move that to Los Alamos. And he goes, well, sure, buddy. You know they could. You know those oil field roads out there better than I do now. It's my sincere belief that something happened there. William Steinman and Wendell Stevens, they were both OSI. A lot of people don't realize that. In the book, The Aztec Crash, they show a lot of top secret stuff. And then further down the line, Scott Ramsey, a good friend of mine, I emailed him all this stuff that we found yesterday. He hasn't had time to decipher it, but every time I find something, I send it to him because he knows more about the Aztec Crash than I do.
That's what I do. And that's good shit. And I'm going to get over to Ronald. I'm not trying to step on you, man.
Right on, brother. Thank you. God bless you, man.
That's exactly. Hey, wait, Michael. Keep doing that shit. Don't let anybody fucking tell you any different. That's why I'm doing this. You know, the difference between us and a journalist and reporters is they're going to ask questions that they only know that area in, right? One of the questions I would ask that a journalist wouldn't is, are there any differences in dimensions from the outside of a craft on the inside? And do you know the reason for that? Because there's multiple instances of the craft being 30 feet on the outside, but they go inside and it's like you can throw 3 footballs, football fields, right? That's time distortion. That's some kind of time slip. Time travel pops up everywhere. Corso talks about it in his notes. I also can talk about some other things, but I'm going to...
Damn, I was just reading a book, bro, where the guy was like, he went in the ship and he was like, wait a minute, this is way bigger inside.
Yes, and that's real. Let me ask you this. Before we get over to Ronald, I'm sorry. What if we had some generic variation of time travel, but it's not what we think, right? Like that is that right there. That is a form of time travel, and it's a whole thing. But let's get over to Ronald. Go ahead.
All right. So I posted in there your original question. 1933, Sicily was where the craft crashed, and Benito Mussolini at the time, they had the craft. After World War II and the defeat, we supposedly went in there. So I would recommend anybody interested in that. I put the link on there, so it's pretty interesting reading about it all. And secondly, one of the things that was said that I really found interesting in the interview, and I hope other people caught it, was that the whistleblower also said that some of the aliens are hostile too. I don't know if anybody else had heard him say that, but I caught that portion of it. And maybe that goes back to the whole disclosure thing and the Cold War arms race. Whoever develops this technology to the limit, to the max, will own the world, so to speak. So I'm going to end with that, but it is on your link. I put it out there, and I would recommend anybody interested in it read that, because they kept talking about this cover up goes 90 years back. So we're talking in the 1930s, and that has to be what they're
Cape
talking about.
Girardeau, you got it, Ronald. That big hoax that everyone keeps talking about. Cape Girardeau was always thought to be a hoax. Well, let me put it to you this way, Ronald. That was such a brilliant point that if they go that hard at making something look like a hoax, there's a reason. Cape Girardeau, we had crash retrievals long before Roswell. Ronald just hit that right on the head. Right on the head. And I'll tell you that Mussolini, there's no way to prove this right now, but I actually heard we got some tech from that. Let's see if this ever comes out. I heard that let's say that a form of jet engines, right? No shit. From a source that I hadn't lied to me yet. Doesn't mean I can prove that right now, but I also heard Cape Girardeau from another source was legit. Not only that, we got lots of tech from it. And I think that's actually where we started getting our fiber optics and try to working that shit out. But stay tuned. We'll try to, figure that out on our own. But let me hear, there's more crash retrievals out there. Post me some links in there of any of the other ones you can find. Because again, this brings other people in there. There's some in Africa. You've got Kecksburg. And you actually made a point that I wanted to bring up. Not all of them are love and light, man. Who in these rooms have been listening to me preach about the bait, track, and takedown programs? What do you think those are about? We are not going to just start shooting advanced civilizations out of the sky unless we really don't have much of a choice. I mean, you can start going down a real deep rabbit hole asking yourself, well, wait, how would we know something is the human equivalent of evil or bad? And how would we, these type of things? Are treaties real? And I'm not saying they are. What I'm saying is there's so much deeper than craft. He was hinting at it. All these things that I've been talking about, bad guys. Hell, we just interviewed Colm Kelleher. I kept asking if human mutilation was a thing. He didn't use that term, but with the Claris, he's hostile intent, straight up, right? Dude's entire body melted off, right? So, Neanderthal, what's up?
Hey, so I'm wondering, in these like retrieval teams and stuff you're talking about, so if they have those, you would think that they have maybe some way to find out if some sort of like actual physical abduction or some sort of physical experience is happening to someone, like a legit one. I was wondering if you've ever heard anything along those lines. And
Yes,
also
I
if
have.
they have any like massive detection methods for these crash retrievals other than ways to shoot them down as well.
Here's the thing that we need to talk about. So, really, there's a cheap way to detect these things. Supposedly, breadcrumbs have been lifted. IR, man. Your naked eye can't see this shit, but IR can. Lou kind of hints at a cheap method type thing. And give me your first question again.
So is there, do you think then some type of response team or something that can tell when somebody...
So yeah, bro. So check this out. Up in the nest, guys, I'm sorry I didn't tell you guys. I put a shitload of my information. If somebody can, click those and throw them in the thread so I can just keep yapping. But that's a bunch of crash retrieval stuff. So MJ12, Ryan Wood talks about it. Stanton Frieden, who are one of our crash retrieval guys, said everything he says is legit. MJ12 is the thing, right? And what that is crashes didn't stop. We just got better at hiding and retrieving them. Now, imagine if we knew, because of the 1947 flap in New Mexico, that radar fucked with them, right? So we had a way to take them down. Now I know where and how we track them. And you just postulate a little bit. If we already knew how to take them down, now ask yourselves this. Kecksburg, you got the Welsh incident with Chaz, and then you have trying to think of the other one. Oh, Cash Landrum, right? You got all these other instances where they were being tailed, or the military was there when it crashed. Do you think we have special forces sitting around in hopes they see a UFO? Or are they baiting them, taking them down, tracking them? And I actually have a bunch on my Twitter, lots of those links, so go find them. Yes, I think this has happened. I have two sources that have told me programs don't stop, they change their names. So MK Ultra's still going somewhere, and so are these MJ-12s, whatever. And if you go to Joint Base Charleston, I think we found part of that shit, right? James Fox was looking for the aircraft C-17 that took the EBE from Brazil. Well, C-17 at that base, they have an SOP. They actually have a Special Forces C-17 that is a snatch and grab type thing, right? Take it a step further. Someone finds, was it Drew? I think it was, that found a freaking unit that is designed to haul biological, something that could probably infect you, kill you. You don't want anywhere near you, right? So that's step two. So that means we do. Now, we got to vet this and obviously figure out other ways, but that's why I've been looking for SSOs and stuff. Matt, you had your hand up for a bit, so go ahead, bud.
Oh, hey, how you
Hey,
doing?
Tina.
So did you say Michael or Matt?
You're up, Matt.
Okay.
Mike can go next.
All right. No, since we're talking about crash retrievals, one of the crash retrievals I'm really interested in is the one from American Cosmic. You know, when they went to go look for debris, when Diana Pasolka and Gary Nolan and Tyler D go to look for that debris. Remember, Tyler D was...
You talking about the gifting field?
Yeah. And so if you've got the Diana Pasolka and Gary Nolan and Tyler D going out there, Tyler D's telling them to be blindfolded so that they don't know where it's at. And, you know, Gary Nolan gets that piece and then he starts analyzing it with Jacques Vallée. Well, that was when I was in a morbid anatomy class with Gary Nolan and Dr. Pasolka, and Gary Nolan's talking about that area where they retrieved it. I mean, I believe I'd have to go back and look, but I think that's the site from Trinity. So, you know, Jacques Vallée, he was doing a lot of the backgrounds research on that area. And if I posted it up to the top,
I was under the impression it was in New Mexico. That field was in New Mexico.
I think so.
Like the Roswell, and I mean near the Roswell, one of the Roswell sites. Because here's what I'd take it from it. Michael Schrad also mentions all these people having metamaterials, right? And then you fast forward, and on top of that, this is the one I'm interested in. Supposedly, there's this little box that has a symbol with no way. I guess, I mean, there's really no. It's like the craft, right? You know, rivets, no way to even get into it, and it's inert. So I was under the assumption, just piecing those together, right? But I could be wrong, and the only reason I say that too is with the whole hubbub with what is it, Jacques Vallée's Trinity stuff going on right now. There's a fight between it being a hoax. What do you think about that, Matt?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Like today, like David Grulch, is his name? I don't want to say his name wrong. Grulch or whatever. He's on, I think it was News Nation, talking to Ross Coulthart, talking about the isotopes, the isotope ratios in it. So if he's basing his stuff off of an ET craft, you know, calling it NHI, and he's basing it off of isotopic ratios, well, Gary Nolan and Jacques Vallée have analyzed that debris, and the titanium-47 and the titanium-49 isotopes have what would they be doing with engineering with isotopes like Jacques Vallée mentioned in the phenomenon. Now, what's so special about those isotopes is that they're active in magnetic resonance. So you could create a waveguide with those types of materials.
And stealth yourself out too.
Yeah, well, you could do all kinds of things with reverse engineering.
Yeah, all kinds of shit. Hey, brilliant point too, man. I'm just interrupting you to point this, guys. If you like isotopes, go get your isotopes read on. So I put up in the jumbotron up there. It's a whole quandary of things, but one of them in there, it's a list of all the metamaterials from supposed crashes that have been tested, what they've been tested from, who brought them, this, blah blah. Check it out, man. If these crashes retrieval stuff doesn't get your juices flowing, you're not alive,
I mean,
man.
this is the science. This is like, how do we know? How do we know it's ET? Well, it's like, who would have the capabilities to etch some material that was found out by a bunch of tin cans out in the middle of the desert, or some, some ranch lands, or whatever the geography is out there. But in the middle of nowhere, there's this crash, and Gary Nolan's peer-reviewed paper. I posted a picture of it in that a section that anybody can read, and why it's important in the future of spintronics and spin plasmonics. Dude, we aren't even there yet. That's what's like buzzing everybody nowadays in science. But back when, if you go find that in the junkyard in the middle of some, near some Sierra Mountains, or I don't know, like out in the middle of nowhere, it's like, what would this be used for? Where did it come? It's not slag, because it's too. I assume it's too, the order of the molecules is set for a certain reason, and for it to have an anomalous amount of titanium isotope that Gary Nolan is probably still interested, because he's never, it's still being tested. But that's why it's so important, and what people aren't probably going to hear on the mainstream media. But even I've talked to I've talked to the one of the, I don't know his name, but the guy who wrote the physics of the Tic Tac. I was mentioning my idea, and I posted it from the date that I thought this up. And like, after watching the phenomena, it wasn't until a year later that Gary Nolan published his paper. So, I'm just some guy up near the Cash Landrum incident, and I'm thinking about, based off of the black triangles I saw, I'm like, this is something that it could be used for. This resonance, you could create a resonance waveguide with that type of material. And I'm sure that I've talked to Gary Nolan on a Twitter space, and he thinks, it could be for an antenna or something. But those metamaterial waveguides are really, especially in the terahertz region, are really, really, like, that's some cutting edge science that, we wouldn't have had just chilling out with a bunch of tin cans.
Yeah, right on, man. And before we get over to you, Michael, hold on. I want to point out too, guys. I just put up in here chronology of a crash retrieval cover-up. Make sure you read it. Also, today I put a bunch of questions I would have for David. You should probably read those. Those were thought out for a reason. There's information in there you can take that isn't elsewhere, right? Are you a robot now, Astral? You all right, bro? You got me worried, Astral. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, the go in there, look at that stuff. Those questions are targeted. There's a reason I asked them. I knew some things, so I needed to ask them, right? So check those out. The other thing was, a lot of these things we're talking about, David mentioned, guys, there's a reason I've been balls deep in crash retrievals. So check all these things I've posted. Vet that against the things he's saying. And what I mean is this. A lot of the information's already out there. You can start going through them. You can, as a matter of fact, find that Mexico crash in the materials that I've posted. Same thing with other. Here's another example. If you take the Denmark crash, was it 19? Shit, I'm going to get the date wrong, 57, whatever. Anyway, we have a CIA paperwork that gives the CIC number of said UFO crash. It has some metamaterial. That metamaterial is a honeycomb-looking material. Well, that same material is found by Bob White, which you can find the analysis in the paperwork. Bob White witnessed the crash. That material was taken to the Stars Academy for an Army contract, where it was later, I'm just postulating here, taken by Hal Puthoff and his son to do some kind of reverse engineering for tanks, possibly stealths and things like that, whatever. So a lot of this information, you can self-vet. You can go look stuff up and be like, well, shit. Here's another question that no one else would ask David that I would. Well, since you're good with paperwork, have you seen any CIC numbers? And specifically these two. And I'd give him the CIC numbers from Roswell and then Denmark. And a CIC is the intelligence file number. Most people wouldn't even know that, right? But I do, just because this is the only shit I ever do, right? I need to get a fucking life. Go ahead, Michael. Astral, what's up? Hold on, let me get Astral talking real quick, see if he's a robot still.
Yo, can you hear me?
No, man.
Damn it. All right, let me jump back out. I'll jump back in.
I know I can hear you. I'm messing with you, dude. I'm messing with you. Oh, shit. He actually left, man. I'm going to block him now, too. Watch this. Now,
have you heard the conversation between Jesse Marcel Sr. and Jesse Marcel Jr. recorded?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay. That reminds me.
Two crash sites.
Yes.
Two crash sites. Okay. In all the hoopla, we forgot about Kingman, Arizona. I'll let you go from there.
Kingman's another big one. Good move, Michael. So let me ask you this. Corso. Who's read his book, The Day After Roswell? You should, but you should actually read the original manuscript. Corso held a job. Do you know what his job was? His job was literally everything to do with this. I'm actually pretty sure I know who held his job out later on, and I'm trying to reach out to them to talk. So that job continues. Doesn't matter what that job's named, but these individuals, just think to yourself, who's had to encounter the phenomenon in such a way that it's changed their life? So all these people that are trying to help with these different things, David, this SSO that I'm hoping I'm right on, and I'll tell you that Gray is I guess you'd say a fake name, obviously. These guys will be coming out shortly. God, I wish I knew if I could release that shit. But anyway, so these guys are simply doing this. SSO is attached. Eric Davis says this. He says there's an SSO attached to basically vet what the whistleblower says. Whistleblower says something, the SSO is going to say, hey, yeah, he's not lying. That's all you should need. So the journalist should go on to other questions. What kind of questions would you guys ask? And this is an example. If they answered me with, are the dimensions different from the inside to the outside? And how is that possible? If they answered that, or if they even answered, how do these entities maneuver the craft? Because they connect to it consciously, right? That's what I'm telling you. And so if that's the case, what does that mean for this to be a deeper thing? If we can't do that, if it's a conscious thing. Now, I also posted on my Twitter, this is wild. Go check it out. It's called The One Human Problem. Right? And it kind of goes along with it, right? So what if it kind of postulates that we go in cycles as humans, and the Fermi's paradox for us is we get to a point where we got to go one with the universe, hive mind, or we're done. We destroy each other, this, that, or whatever, right? So it's on my thread somewhere, but I put that in there for a reason, because a lot of these things you can point to each other and you can postulate, but then when you start hearing other people talk about it, all these different things, hell, the civilization things, these breakaways, I've heard from my Red End guy, right? Who else have you heard that shit from? Breakaway civilizations. Maybe we were not the first. Doesn't mean all of them, but like David said, not all these things are love and light. Some are evil. How do you tell a difference? Abduction's real. What else is real that we've been told isn't? I can tell you that the whole point of me working RDR, doing this stuff, is to figure this stuff out. Because here comes, come on up here, Dad. She can tell you what's real. So the point of this stuff is, I dig. There's some of us that'll say things and ask questions. I have no problem asking a question that other people will not ask, and that being human mutilations. Is that a thing? Abduction. Go ahead, Deb.
Hey there. I just wanted to let you know that I tried to link the UFO connector page on Crash Retrievals because this is probably one of the things that fascinated me the most when I started researching. And I'm hoping that you're going to talk about moon dust. Yes?
Deb, can you talk to us about moon
You
dust?
tell me what you're saying, because maybe I noticed something different, or maybe I don't know it at all. And this is how I learn.
Okay, well, first of all, those crash retrievals on there go back to, I think, the 1800s. So it's definitely pre 1930s. The second thing is in about the 1950s, the U.S. Air Force had a squadron start collecting things that fell from the sky. Um, Everything that they collected was put under the name moon dust. That was like the title line on the documents. Those documents are in the DIA FOIAs. Those can be found in what they call the UFO PDFs. Sean from Witness Citizen has found more that were not just international, because the ones in the CIA FOIAs tended to be international. The ones in the DIA FOIAs tended to be international, but he's found more that were local. And there was a person named Clifford Stone who came out and reported that he was a part of Moondust, which was a project to retrieve crashes and objects that fell from the sky. Now, to be clear, they were not all UFOs. They were also picking up anything, any technology that fell from the sky. And I have actually spoken to Kevin Randall. He wrote a book about Moondust. And he basically said, there's more to it than it, like that was just the tagline, so to speak. But if you look at those FOIAs, it shows you not only who is interested, who is getting CC'd on those crash retrievals, et cetera, et cetera. And it is, like I said, in the UFO PDFs on the DIA FOIA reading room.
Dang.
Yeah, the Deb's collection, Study of UAP's collection of information is great, and I highly recommend anybody take a look at it because she's organized all kinds of different subjects and links to some very good information.
Thank you. I mean, for me, it's different because I've known about Moondust since like day one. Like, I'm like, everyone, come on, we got to look at this. In fact, if you guys don't know, Leslie Kean sued NASA trying to get more FOIAs. The problem was that NASA's not the one who was doing Moondust, it was the U.S. Air Force. So there was actually someone a couple of years ago who claimed to be part of Moondust, but he disappeared. He took down all of his social media. He took down his YouTube page. He just went and poofed. But he said he worked on Moondust, and there was a lot of cancer among the people who were part of the project.
Yeah, I wonder now if we're going to get more of the effects, of like these stories that are going to come out. Like Jay Stratton was on Skinwalker Ranch, and it was all about like experiencer type of stuff. I wonder if it's just like so ironic. Some of the stuff is so crazy how it just lines up some of the time with the timing of it. But I wonder now if we're going to hear a lot more of these like people who have interacted with UFOs, UAP sightings with effects and stuff like that.
I think the dam broke, man. Today, the dam broke. Most people were scared, worried about being the first one because assassinations, murders, suicided, that's a thing, man. There's a reason. Also, I think the Mexico thing he was talking about, was it El Indio? I think that's the one he was talking about. I'm not positive, but so here's what he was trying to give us hints left and right. And again, go look at my questions that I had prepared for him. The reason I asked those is because I found other information elsewhere. So he was giving us, I guess, lots of the goods. And we just got to remember, I keep getting from people, most of the information's already out here. And that's the reason there's such a flood of this information. So you can go find all these different things and look it up. Now, what's important to me, AHI, which is why I do UAP Med, right? I also think that tech's not the only thing that we reverse engineered. Just postulate this with me. What if we knew what the craft and whatever radiation is, what it does to people, and we needed to figure out how to use that for war? It would explain some things, right? What if not all of the events that we thought of as being an abduction, um, an injury from a craft, or one of these things was that? What if it was? Now I don't know what they're named, but just take this with a grain of salt. Some version of My Labs, MK Ultra, all these different things. Now, was MK Ultra a separate program? Because were they using the craft to reverse engineer that entire tech? Now, one thing I would also ask David that no one asked, and I couldn't believe it because he's paperwork, was where are the NDAs? Now, if the government's going to have you sign an NDA, it's going to be specific on what happened and what you're not to talk about. And if that's a government form, why is no one looking for those just to validate? Oh shit, that did happen, right? We have whistleblowers that keep saying we signed NDAs, find those. We told them. Fitzpatrick doesn't even have the title authority to do so, right? He just doesn't give a shit. So to have him tell us nothing's going on, and this guy, with the record that he has, I can promise you, his bona fides, he's legit. What's up, Astral?
Well, with a lot of the stuff that's come out too, and the people that have been publicly associated with it, it makes me think about what the UAP task force was doing, and then the knowledge of the people involved in the task force. Because I think it was like Stratton and Travis Taylor were both above him, and they're both publicly out there doing conferences and all that. So I wonder if they, can now speak on a little bit more of the validity of his claims, or
Well, here's the thing. They don't got whistleblower status. I didn't mean to step on you, Deb. Hold on a second. They don't have whistleblower status. And just because they outrank him or they were his boss does not mean they knew anything about these programs. These programs, rank doesn't mean shit. So your job's going to be assigned to that, and that's, you know what I mean? So no one else, even the people that are, ATIP may have not had access to these programs, but they may have known an individual or somehow come across, or one individual did, right? Because didn't Lou Elizondo talk about that, right? That trying to get access to these programs, hell, I think, was it Jay that said, just give us this kind of access and we'll show them to you. But that's the thing. You have to have that to get in there, and only the SSO and people who are assigned to their areas have it. And we do have a friendly SSO, which I think I finally figured out. So hopefully he talks to me. I doubt it, but whatever. Go ahead, Deb.
I mean, I just think it's an access problem too. I don't think the UAP task force with their 4 people had access to those programs. If you read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, the Department of Homeland Security was not given access because they tried to get it. If you believe the Wilson Davis memo, he couldn't get access.
So this guy, you think he was just able to get in with these guys who had that information and just told him, but not the task force?
Look, what if this? Let me postulate something here. What if an individual's, when you join the military, you're in a brotherhood. You may go down different paths in that brotherhood, but you're in a brotherhood. What if you ended up in 2 places, but you both happen to be on the side of disclosure? Does that make sense? Didn't just happen to know, I'm sure. They were probably knew each other from the service at some point. This group of individuals is a small, tight-knit group. And let me put it to you this way. If I was to piss off my whistleblower or any source that I had that was in these crash retrieval programs, which I do, and that could happen, they have the ability to look up, find, contact anyone else that's been involved in this program and say, that dude will burn your ass. Obviously, right? Because it's such a small group of people. So it's there, but it was hidden, and this guy breaking the dam is the best thing that I think could happen. I think the next 2 days, next couple of days, weeks, whatever, we're going to have more people come forward. Now people aren't so worried about dying because they're going to have to kill a shitload of people, right? Now, hopefully, our guy who used to be in the program, and I want to say that he was probably an SSO. This guy held so many jobs, maybe he'll feel comfortable enough he's not going to feel like the CIA and FBI are going to try to shoot him, right? So he's betting the hell out of us. Go ahead now, Andy.
So, Shane, and you're like, kind of what I'm gathering here is, are we looking at basically like what happened is most of the people involved, like there wasn't very many people, but it certainly seems like all the people involved in the UAP task force are super pissed at how that all went and ended up. So are what we looking at are these guys are saying that they came across these programs, they found this stuff. So either Arrow should have been able to find this stuff or they did find this stuff. and they're like, fuck you guys, we're coming out with it. You know, is this what's happening?
Yeah, no, they're saying, fuck you guys, we're coming out with it because whistleblowers have went to Arrow. Whistleblowers have told them these things. What David has said, he said, right? Here's the shit part. All you have to do, they know there's a reason. It's willful. Plus, you got to remember, David can say all this shit to Kirkpatrick. What's he going to do? Write it down. That's it. He can't go look for anything. Now, it's pretty easy, even though Fitzpatrick knows what his job entails, what it does, he still can't go look for anything. So those guys in the task force, I'll say that while I don't know who was read into what, they literally said the same thing to him. Give us a Title 51 authority, we'll show you where they're at. They're not interested in finding it for what David said, man. It's a race. It's a Cold War for these weapons. And any information we put out, they get. Go ahead, TJ.
Okay, just real quick. So, in your opinion, where does that put people like Gillibrand and Rubio and these guys? Because certainly they're all full of shit at some point then, too, yeah?
Yeah, not really. They're just not in the know, which brings me to another point. What do we do about that? Kevin Wright, actually got to meet him in person. He's a friend of mine. We were talking about a whole education network because, again, you need people to ask the right questions. I wasn't dogging on Ross Cohort or journalism. You need somebody that knows the subject enough. When he mentions this, you got 7 questions right there. You don't need to go searching through your shit, right? That's what I'm saying. This is a whole different ballgame, guys. You need an anomalist. That's what I'll call myself, off a keel, right? Someone who's just there. This is all they do. This is their reporting. They don't deal with math, science, other kinds of shit. They deal with this because I'm telling you right now, if you had those people like me and Deb with the Colm Kelleher interview, imagine having people who aren't scared to ask, hey, are they killing humans? Abduction, stealing egg, all these things, because that shit's legit. And go ahead, Deb. I'll keep yapping, man. And we'll get to TJ.
Okay, I was just going to say real quick that there are FOIAs about the Russian and Chinese involvement with crash retrieval. If you guys want to look, like they talk about not only how we try to help Russia initially create their UFO office, they actually had Carl Sagan involved in that, by the way. But later on, they have FOIAs about Russia and China working together and saying they have retrieved objects.
What's up, TJ?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I just wanted to know if anyone wanted to comment about the president's press secretary's reaction. She's still kind of giggling and downplaying, and I don't know if that was her own personal reaction or if she was coached to act like that, but is she the only person left that doesn't believe in UFOs, or what's going on?
She's probably coached, but we were into a press thing, and I think it was over the phone, and somebody mentioned UFOs, and there's a bunch of giggles. But that's, again, why you need specific people who are already past the, is it here? Like, look, I'm an experiencer and it's still going on. So no one needs to say, do you believe something? Look, I'm past that. So now I can go deep down this rabbit hole. What's up, Deb?
Plus, we had a potential presidential candidate tweet the article earlier today and then actually delete it. But still, that was good to see. It was crazy.
You know why he deleted it, though, right? There's an old story about another individual named Goldwater that you should probably look up. No shit.
I just wanted to say, to be fair, sometimes people giggle when they're nervous about something, not necessarily because they don't believe it. Sometimes people are giggling because they just can't deal with it, and it's nerve-wracking.
Deb, can you let us hate on people, please? We don't need you in here stopping the hate.
If there's anyone less honest than a politician, it's a press secretary, right?
No, look, I don't think you understand. For me, the ontological shock was crazy from my experience, to the point that I got PTSD, which is, again, why I do UAP med. So imagine you're still under the belief shit's not here. And on the news, at least I broke it to myself, right? I didn't have the news telling me, hey, guys, they're not all good. Shit's here, all these other things. So it's not easy. One of the reasons I imagine they didn't tell us was the decay of society. That's a possibility, right?
So did no one ever brief this press secretary? Did she not get to brief with Grush or whoever this guy is? Like, why doesn't she call him up and talk to him?
because he's a whistleblower. If they would have talked to him and let this out, he would have probably went up the chain of command. But that's the sticky part for some vets, right? So a military member, here's what's shitty. Most people keep giving shit, all this whistle. If you're in the military and you go for whistleblower protections, two things are going to happen. You either get it, but if you don't, guess what you did? You went out of your chain of command, which is kind of out of regs, right? So it fucks up your shit right away. He's a fucking hero for even trying. It's scary as a veteran soldier, whatever you want to call yourself, to do that. So by him doing that alone, him taking the chance, do you think he was going to bullshit anybody? That on top of the SSO, who's attached? Go look at his fucking LinkedIn. Right. Well, I guess you can't now. My point being, if you saw what these jobs were, their careers, their entails, shit, when I had a chance before they all started taking them down, these different whistleblowers, the one that I think the SSO is not down, and I can promise you when you look at these things, there's some vet right there. Then go look at their job title. What's that entail? Okay, what kind of clearances? Okay, come on, guys. This guy, a career soldier that's been doing this, is going to come on TV to just fucking make himself sound like a UFO nut for no reason. And on top of that, risk his goddamn life. I mean, he vetted himself by coming out. That's the fucking craziest part. Did I answer your question? I don't even know if you had a question. That fired me the fuck up, TJ. I'm sorry.
Well, they even talked about the reason to why the article was, I guess you were talking, people were asking around Twitter and the circles why it was rushed. And there was like some like shit going on. Like he was getting intimidated and like, messed with.
Well,
and it was against the whistleblower shit,
You're right, Astral. I'm stepped on you, but it's my goddamn space. I don't do them that often. I'm sorry, though. My bad. Anyway, there were some leaks. This is why we don't leak information, but not only that, guys, it's very important. I understand people want to beat people to the story, but if you want the facts, if you want a whistleblower, even if someone else puts that information out, hear me out. Don't propagate it. Don't retweet it. Don't keep posting it. Whistleblowers sometimes want to stay anonymous because they want to stay alive, and if they don't feel comfortable to stay alive, they won't come forward. If they don't come forward, if there was no David, there's going to be no Gray or whoever these other individuals that are coming forward, right? No SSO to vet this stuff because they're scared. So we don't propagate any of that stuff. Just like they were saying, any of these leaks sped the whole thing up. Now, here's the other part that I'll tell you for a fact. Look, WAPO wasn't going to publish that shit. Why? They don't know their ass from the hole in the ground. Neither is Politico and these other places, without their hand being held. All they should have needed, like the debrief did, because Tim McMillan, literally an SSO attached. Once they vetted that, and that SSO said, yes, he's saying exactly what, blah, blah, that's all you needed for this. So that's the ridiculousness of this whole thing. It's literally a Google away. Go Google SSO. Look at what it means. Go see Eric's little leak. There you go. It's all right there. That's why Lieutenant McMillan released it, because it was good enough for him. Shit, it would have been good enough for me. What's up, Willa?
Hi, how's it going? I was in the military back in 2001. I enlisted after September 11th. November 15th, I shipped out, and I had to go get a security clearance because I chose an MOS that had, I can't go into it, but there's a security clearance attached to it. So I had to agree to keep my mouth shut and follow this guy to the interrogation room. So he took me all around the building so I wouldn't get my bearings over in the secure area. And then on the final stretch of the hallway to get to this room, I happened to glance to my right and something caught my eye. There was an open door. The room was lit up. There were people in it. But I glanced to my right, and I saw an alien.
Dead or alive, bro?
It was alive. It was talking to, I could see a couple of younger guys up front. There's this younger Asian kid. He couldn't have been more than 14 or so. He was probably some MIT kid, probably an engineer. And I locked eyes with the alien for a good 5 to 10 seconds, and he got closer to me, close enough to shut the door. So he was within 5, 6 feet of me. So I got a good look at him. Okay, I can draw him from my memory from that day perfectly. He was dressed in black suit, white shirt, black tie. I didn't, when I first was looking at him, I just thought he was a regular guy. But the thing is, he was really pale, and those eyes, they weren't sunglasses. Those were actual eyes that went from smaller to bigger. About, if you would take an orange, cut it into quarters, and put them in the eye sockets, they were that big. They were solid black, and my blood ran cold, okay? I covered my mouth. I was just in absolute shock, and I turned just in time for the guy escorting me to the security clearance room in my face saying, I told you not to look at anything. And I said, why is the door open? Because that's a breach of security right there. That should.
Hey, real quick, Will, I got to wrap this thing up here in a second. What base were you at? Can you say?
That was actually at the James F. Hanley Federal Building in downtown Syracuse as I was going through.
Okay, and guys, before everybody starts mocking and laughing in here, let me just say, me and Michael Schratt just had a good Crash Retrieval conversation. A lot of the stuff we talked about was live and dead EBEs. Matter of fact, one of the instances that happened remind me of a scene from E.T. The guy runs across, like you just did, EBE, extraterrestrial biological entity. He pushes through the door. It's there, but it's in a Mercury outfit, like the Apollo missions, like Mercury missions, right? And the thing reaches its finger out at him, and all the alarms go off, right? Because it escaped or some shit like that. There's also, you got Corbell talks about the pro-looking alien out went with somebody. I've read, well, you got Rachel's eyes. You also have, there's some blurps. Michael Schratt said he's heard it elsewhere that some of these, or one of these, has been sent home with people. So before you start saying no, that's one of the questions I would have asked, David. Have you ever come across any paperwork talking about live or dead? And then do they refer to them as female and male? And is it because they're female and male, just because they have, some of them have breasts? Because there's witness statements saying that you can see in their costumes there's a difference, either huge muscles on some or it's breasts, right? So, hey, Will, you should reach out to me. At the let's see, I think I put it on my page actually. Let me put it in this thing actually. I'll put my email, my Proton email, right? Reach out to me, Will. We should talk.
Yeah, Gillibrand actually has an office in that building. And
well, shit. So you saying she's been hanging out with one this entire time?
I don't know if she knows that it's there. It's highly possible. I just don't know. It's been a long time. It's been 21 and a half years.
Dan, that kind of caught me off guard, too. Because I'm not saying I don't believe you, because I do believe that shit happened. So that really, I wasn't expecting. Yeah, we should talk, dude. Because again, I've heard so many stories of this just like this.
I'm on the list to speak with Arrow. My DIA guy is down there in Virginia, actually keeping an eye on stuff for me right now. And
well, if you need help, I can get you there too.
Yeah, bro, you need to get in touch with Shane.
I got all the guys. So if you need help getting in there, I can get you in there right the fuck away. Talk to me. I will make sure you're secure and you get to the people that want disclosure and you need to get to. And those people you know. Promise you.
Okay. I will.
So, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I know it's a short night, but I stayed in Palm Springs a little extra for vacation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Proton email in there. Reach out to me, Will. If you guys have information, Crash Retrievals, Whistleblower, if you need help getting to the people to get the information out in front of us legally, I work my ass off to do that. I don't even need to write a story about it, right? You can help me out.
Yo, Shane, hold up. Couple hands up from our friends. Jenny, what's up?
She's not my friend. Jenny, what's up?
That's all right. Fine, you're not my friend either anymore. No, I had a quick question. So Syracuse, New York, downtown in a federal building in Syracuse. Yeah. I'm trying to think. 21 years ago. So if Gillibrand's there now, then somebody was there who's in Gillibrand's office now. So 21 years ago, whoever would have been there probably knew about it, and that's the person you could easily track down. But I wanted to really quickly comment on what Deb had talked about earlier, was about body language, and that's going to be really, really important. I've been spending most of the afternoon watching body language experts pick apart David's interview with Ross, and there's two camps. There's two camps of that. The guy that was doing the actual video was saying, I don't know, the guy sounds like he's kind of being deceiving and he's lying based on this, this, and this. Well, but there was a whole lot of comments from other professional body language experts that were saying, no, we kind of think you're wrong on this, because there's two different ways. So let's say that you're trying to recount a story that, oh my God, I just saw an alien and I walked by a door, just like our dude just talked about, and there he was. Telling a story like that that's unbelievable to you, and it's going to be even more unbelievable to somebody else who you're relaying the story to, because not only, like, oh my gosh, this is a fairy tale, this person, they're crazy, maybe get their mental health checked out.
Jenny, can I say something to that? Because you're right. Also, on that, I just want to add, whenever you're talking and you're parsing information, because you don't want people to think you're crazy, and you also don't want to give out secrets,
yes,
it's going to look like you're deceiving, because you are.
Yes.
You're not giving all the info. So, come on, guys. Go ahead, Jenny.
Yes, absolutely what you just said. That, and then if you're telling a story like, oh my gosh, I just got robbed. These guys came over and they beat the shit out of me and they took my wallet, and then they headed down the street. They went in that direction. Well, what were they wearing? Well, I'm pretty sure he was wearing a red shirt. Details start to become blurry when you tell those stories, but you see how the difference between the stories. So the body language is definitely going to be different, and then the experts are going to be. It's going to be difficult for them to utilize some of their training, because this is a whole different level of assessment. Press secretary and the journalist asking the question of the day, and they're giggling and off and smiling. That's because they're relaying something that's unbelievable to them, and they're trying to relate an unbelievable story to another person. So keep that in mind. That's it. That's all I had, just to add on what Deb said earlier.
She's part of my Unmajestic 12 group. We're quite that. So, Deb, go ahead, and we're going to wrap this up. Yeah, no doubt. Chris Meyer, hey, he's going to have a space after this, part of UFO Twitter Week. Check that shit out, right? I'm only wrapping this up because I want to still go drink a beer by the pool. So go ahead, Deb.
I'm just upset that you cut Will off. I wanted to hear more about the entity. I'm sorry, I want to know more.
I want everybody to know more too, but I promised Christopher that I would make sure we all move over to his space, right? And that way it gets me an hour so I can enjoy Palm Springs, because I will talk in this space all night in my hotel room instead of being down the pool.
Thanks for everything, Shane, and thank you, Astral. Will, it's good to meet you. Thank you for coming forward and sharing your story.
Hey, guys, do me a favor.
Like Shane said, some people might think it's unbelievable.
You want a Roswell? You want a Roswell, Mike?
No, my youngest daughter and her boyfriend are coming in from Amarillo, so I'm going to stick around up here and party up here.
I just asked.
Appreciate it.
Roswell incident, guys. Check it out. Beginning next month. Also retweet, follow all these speakers. Most of us are either talking about this topic in spaces on podcasts. We are doing volunteer work or reporting on it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
like I said,
I've been talking with some people over the past couple of days, and they were saying, watch yourself with Greer, because he really is, like, I don't know him personally. He's been cordial with me so far.
Well, I wouldn't go that route. If you're looking the whistleblower route, we'll get you the route that'll make sure people pay attention and don't think you're part of a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So reach out to me, bro. Okay. I don't want to say names. When I say I can get you to the people, I will get you to the people that will help you get the information where it needs to go. And you know who I'm talking about. I won't bullshit you. I don't even need to know what the fuck you're talking about. You can talk to me after you whistleblow, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I give a shit about. So I got to get this going because I don't want Chris to think I'm in here hogging all the space. Again, guys, thank you. Retweet. Put your favorite crashes in here. If you don't start researching after I posted all that shit up in this nest, you're lost. I can tell you. This shit gets my blood flowing.
Yo, tag UFO Twitter Week this week, too. Later.
Yeah, make sure you
Thanks,
hashtag.
Shane.
Remember, guys, I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick 2 to Ryan Wood's book, right? Magic Eyes Only. So retweet, hashtag, quote it, make it look good. I don't know, put pictures of Astral's toes. Night, everybody.
Later, bro.